Hello, family members. I hope you're having a pleasant day. I'm about to bring you down, if you are, though, because I want to talk about Ronald Goldman, or Ron Goldman. I imagine, like my dad, he probably went by Ron almost exclusively. I don't think anybody calls my dad Ronald. So maybe I'm projecting a little, but I have a feeling that that's how his family thought of him, was Ron. Ron Goldman, from what I could see when I was reading up on him, was a dreamer. He was the kind of guy who was still looking for what was going to make him big. You know, what was going to be his big success in life. I read about how when he was growing up in the suburban Chicago area, and he went to school for a year and didn't take, and then moved when his family did to Southern California and tried school again, didn't take, and started trying to make his way in either entertainment or in nightlife, you know, clubs and bars and restaurants and things like that. Seemed like he was the kind of guy that had a lot of dreams. And, you know, given enough time, probably would have realized him. You know, he was obviously a very handsome man, if you ever seen any pictures of him. And, you know, seems like he must have been a good friend. He made friends with Nicole a few weeks before he died. Like 6 weeks, I think, is what they said. And offered to do a favor for her on the last night of his life. He took her mother's glasses from the restaurant he worked at, where they had been left earlier that day, as a favor, over to Nicole's house. And we don't know exactly what happened at that point. His family believes, and I believe her family as well, that he attempted to save her from her assailant, and that he had arrived either during or shortly after she had been killed. But we won't know. And we'll never know, really, because the police department and the prosecutorial system that attempted to find justice for him failed. When O.J. Simpson was acquitted in a court of law, that meant that there wasn't ever going to be any sort of criminal adjudication. And though later the Brown and Goldman families sought and received a judgment for civil liability in the murders, they were never able to collect more than just a small fraction of the granted civil penalty. And so forever, Ron will be stuck in this gray area where there was civil liability found, but not criminal. And it never fully, truly be said that the matter was settled. And I wonder about people like him and his family, the people that I think of as the bystanders of history. You know, other than, say, Sharon Tate, who else do you know that was one of the murder victims in the Manson family murders? You know, do you know the name of Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer's victims? Most people don't. People who were just ordinary people living their lives until something monstrous was done to them. And they became part of a story that wasn't their story, that was you know, the beginning of somebody else's notoriety or something like that. And Casey, it's very upsetting, I know, but maybe we don't. Come here, buddy. Come here. It's fine. He wants to sit on my lap and there's not room for some reason, baby. Anyway, I think about these people who they and their loved ones will never have justice. You know, I think about all of the people who have been found innocent through the Innocence Project. Think about how every single one of those is a case where a person was victimized and then re-victimized by the justice system, that rather than seeking accountability for their murder, went ahead and victimized someone else who was innocent instead. Our system isn't kind to victims. Oh my gosh, Casey, you are such a wrecking ball. What are you even doing? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Our system is a little bit like Casey is. It goes where it wants. It does what it wants. It sees what it wants. Like him, it's geriatric, partially deaf, partially blind. But for some reason, we still give it authority. We still trust that if history tries to make a bystander out of us, that they would get justice. And that's just not true. When I was in my late 20s, I was working at a group home for teenage boys. And one of the counselors that I worked with mysteriously died. And local authorities were inclined to think it was some sort of suicide, even though a cursory understanding of the details just, it didn't add up. He was a hunter. He wouldn't have shot himself with a shotgun in the chest if he was trying to kill himself. You know? But there'll probably never be any sort of justice for him or for his family, for his daughter. Is what our justice system is. It's really good at fining people for things, speeding selectively, or petty things, but it's not very good at the big stuff. And that's a shame. I think it would be more important for us to get the big stuff right than to make sure that we can give people parking tickets. But our system is set up to give parking tickets. It's not set up to find and punish bad actors, people who harm other people. Wage theft is a huge problem in the United States, way bigger than shoplifting or anything like that. But that crime, the victims of those types of crimes, very rarely see justice. But petty theft, I can see that sometimes, especially if it's, some institution, because they'll have the tools to prove it themselves, right? They just hand the evidence over to the police, and then there you go, But wage theft, that's not going to happen. Murder, Not going to happen. Victims shouldn't have to solve their own crimes. And history shouldn't remember the people that failed them. The Marcia Clarks and Mark Furmans and all of that of the world, more than they remember him, Ron Goldman, Cole Brown. They were young, so young, and O.J. Simpson got 30 more years of life than they did. And there's nothing that can be done that's going to change that. Well, I will confess that the reasoning behind this particular musing is a little bit more personal than normal. I just had to humanely euthanize my cat Millie yesterday morning. And so I've sort of been meditating on grief. And my grief obviously is just a mere fraction of the horror and pain that Ron and Nicole's family went through. And I can't imagine what it's been like for them the last 30 years, living with that and being re-victimized by the system over and over again. To think that they're going to see accountability at a civil or a criminal trial and it doesn't happen. See, you know, the accountability believe that they deserve at the civil trial, but then to never really be able to collect on the penalty that they're owed. To never really have a firm public record. People that will always dispute what happened instead of just knowing what happened. Over and over and over again, these people have been re-victimized. And when it goes to court, as it likely will, to try to see if those people will get to collect from his in a estate the money that he owed them for the past few decades, it won't be him that pays it. In essence, it'll be his heirs. They will never have the accountability that they want. And so my heart's breaking for them right now. And I just wanted to take the time to talk about their son, their loved one. Because he deserved to live. And yet he didn't get to. And nothing ever changes that. Well, family members, I hope you have a lovely day. Hug your loved ones tight. And if you got fur babies, give them an extra treat from me today. We're lucky to have the connections we have. And I hope that we always remember to cherish them. Take care of yourself.